Hello. Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? I've got my stream set on it's called mid latency, which means it gives the mid range quality for the video. It's not top quality. But there's also like a 10 to 15 second or up to 20-second like delay in the comments that I would see in the comment area. So if I delay in responding to the comments, then, I apologize, but I'm, going to try to get to them as quick as I can. But I wanted to start off today just by saying Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope that you and your families are having a great Christmas so far. Tomorrow's Christmas Day. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. A lot of kids out there looking forward to it. And I hope that everybody's doing all right through this holiday season. I hope that, everybody's safe and, taken care of. And I wanted to start off by talking about a few different things. And then I wanted to look at some of the questions that were posed in the post that I put up a couple of days ago talking about the live stream. And there were several questions that people wanted to discuss there. So I definitely want to get into some of those. But I wanted to start off by talking about the new stimulus package that was passed. There's supposedly $600 to be given out, to people. This stimulus package is sort of up in the air. The way that they did it was really, it's sort of sneaky in a way, is they combined the stimulus package along with the government's actual budget. So not only are we facing not getting a stimulus package, but we're also facing, the government shutdown, which could happen next week. I mean, this could be coming very quickly. So for those that aren't familiar with this stimulus package, I'm going to read off some of the things that it is supposed to be doing right here. And we're going to talk about some of it. And let me get to the right one. Here we go. Okay. So the stimulus package that they decided to pass through the House and, through the Senate, through Congress, that's basically waiting on final approval from the president right now. And I'm sure that everybody's heard the president is disappointed in the fact that there's so much foreign aid in this package and so much aid going to large corporations and places that may not be deemed necessary. And the actual aid going to the American people is going to be much, much less than it was the last stimulus we received, 6-8 months ago. So just going to look at some numbers here and talk about these real quick. The stimulus package that is up for approval right now is going to give $600 to individual adults with an adjusted gross income of up to $75,000 a year. Now, for those that aren't familiar, your adjusted gross income is not your total gross income. That's your income after deductions. So $75,000 a year, a lot of people will fall into that range. Now, for head of household, you can make up to $112,500 for your, adjusted gross income. Or for couples, you can make up to $150,000. And they're going to give out $600, or the proposal is $600 for individuals, $1,200 for head of household or for couples, with an additional $600 per child. And, that's good. I mean, it's good that we would get something. I know myself, I paid $30,000 in taxes this year. And I know a lot of people out there probably paid a lot more than I did. And it's sort of really insulting to see the kind of money that's going to be given to some of the larger corporations and that's going to be given to overseas entities as opposed to being distributed to the American people. We're the ones that's been put on lockdown. We're the ones that's been forced to. A lot of people lost their job at no fault of their own. Now, some of the other benefits, supposedly, are $300 a week for up to 11 weeks for unemployment, which is half of what it was under the CARES Act. And then it gets into the different loans that it's going to give out. $285 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program for companies that are able to, you know, give people their paychecks, able to pay people during this. They're able to take out these loans and able to, you know, at least pay their employees to keep from losing these employees. Now, there's also the article I'm reading. I'll put a link once this video post. I'll put a link to this article. There's also a lot of discussion in it about the fraud that was taking place during this. All right. Now, one of the things that bothers me about it after this part, it also sets aside $70 billion for public health measures, $20 billion for the purchase of vaccines, $8 billion for vaccine distribution, and $20 billion to help states continue their test and trace programs. But there's also a clause in here that I felt like if we see all this debate, you know, you turn on the news and you see these politicians just going at each other's throats and all of them talking about how they're trying to help us. Well, if they're trying to help us, they would find a way to get the job done. I mean, I know if I was as inefficient at my job as these politicians are at theirs, I wouldn't have a job anymore, and neither would anybody watching this. We have to do our jobs. Why don't they do theirs? But there's a section in it here. It's allocating $35 billion to help fund future wind, solar, and clean energy projects. What does that have to do with a COVID stimulus package? I mean, we know that the incoming president is really big on clean energy, and that's going to be something that's going to be pushed tremendously here pretty soon. So could something like that could wait, and we could really help the American people more than trying to help these special interest groups that are paying the politicians to go up there and lobby for them or to you know, pass laws for them. Now, there's also another $25 billion set aside in rental assistance. Now, this rental assistance sounds great. I mean, that sounds great. That's like, because, you know, I moved up here to Michigan, so I'm not buying a place up here. I'm renting, and I'm going to stay renting the whole time I'm up here because I don't plan on staying. But this rental assistance is not for people like you or me. It's for the landlords, the apartment building owners. It's for places like that. And I understand that that will eventually help. It may trickle down and help people who are actually renting, paying month by month. But in reality, I don't believe it will. I believe it's going to help the people that own the large amount of properties and leave the people like us basically sitting out in the cold. Now, it does give another $13 billion for the SNAP program, or Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or what most people will know as food stamps. And this is going to be increased by 15%. So anyone that's getting this type of financial assistance, their assistance will increase by 15% starting on January 1st for 6 months. And that's great. I'm always, happy for people to get, assistance that they may need. That certainly, it doesn't apply to me, but I'm really happy, to see anybody getting any type of assistance. What bothers me about this is we have these politicians that are passing this bill, and there's another $250 billion in this bill that's just straight going overseas. And $100 billion of that is for gender studies in Pakistan. Gender studies in Pakistan. What does that have to do with COVID-19 relief in the United States? How do you even attach that kind of bill? These people need to get their act together, and they need to do their jobs. And that's what it boils down to. They're not doing their jobs. They're serving themselves. They're serving special interest groups. They're serving big business, and they're serving everybody but the American people. And it's at the point that I think a lot of people are at a tipping point with this. I know I am, and I know that most of y'all probably are too. And it's this grouping together. I mean, they're grouping together foreign aid. They're grouping together clean energy. They're grouping together funding the government, and they're calling it COVID-19 stimulus. It really just doesn't make any sense. This bill is 5,600 pages long. Not one single member of Congress has read this entire bill. I'm not going to read it. I mean, I don't even read books half that long, and it's ridiculous that something that large, that big of a bill is going to be tried to pass and pushed off to us like we're stupid. Like we're going to believe, oh, well, 600 is all the government can do to help us. Other countries are helping more. We didn't start this pandemic. We didn't cause the lockdowns. We didn't put people out of work. We're the ones affected by it. And they're doing nothing to help us. That's what we pay them to do, is to help us. Our government is supposed to answer to us. We are not supposed to answer to our government. They are supposed to serve us. That is what the government was for. But it has changed. It's changed dramatically. And this bill here, there's no telling how it's going to go next week, because technically Monday, the government is not funded and the bill is not passed. They're pushing for $2,000, for everybody. But let's get real, They're already talking about locking down. They're locking down more severe now in a lot of places. They're talking about a new mutation, a new strain. We're going to see more lockdowns. This $2,000 really going to make a difference in anybody's life. This is just trying to pacify us. All this is doing is pacifying us for a couple of months, and then they'll start talking about another stimulus and take another year to pass it, if they even do. Our politicians have failed us in every aspect of it. They have completely failed us. And maybe it's time we take that power back. How? Well, that's something I can't really talk about on YouTube probably. But something needs to be done. And it needs to be done soon, because 2021 is going to be a year that makes 2020 look like nothing. We're going to look back at 2020 and say we were on vacation, because 2021 is going to bring things this country has never imagined before. It's going to put us in situations that we never wanted to be in. We never even imagined we would be in. And I do have a video I've been really putting a lot of time into that'll be coming out pretty soon, talking about 2021 coming up. So, check that out. But all right, I want to talk about a few things, get a little heated about some of it, I guess. But I want to move on to something else here. I think a lot of people are on the same page as I am about this stimulus package. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard to put forth a stimulus package in front of Congress saying we're going to give the American people, $2,000. How hard is that? I mean, you could do it with a 5-page document, not a 5,600-page document. That just shows us that they're not attempting to help us. They're only helping themselves. All right. The next thing I wanted to get into is, this is something that's going to have an impact on society from here on out. And it's already being put into place. I'm going to start off with something a little stupid here. It's from Cuomo, in New York. He had a press conference talking about the Buffalo Bills. I don't watch a whole lot of football anymore. Matter of fact, none anymore. But the Buffalo Bills are apparently having their first playoff game. And he is wanting people to, be able to attend this game. So they had a meeting there, and they said, well, we can probably let 6,500 fans attend this game, as long as two things happen. One is they get tested before they walk into the stadium. And the second is they're going to perform contact tracing on these people for 2 to 3 weeks after they leave the stadium. The part that bothers me, I don't care if they play a football game or not. I really don't. And I used to play football, but contact tracing is what bothers me. And for a lot of people don't realize, contact tracing, it might seem like, all right, well, they're going to ask me who I talk to. No, that's not what they're going to do. Do you think the government trusts you? If they trust you, they wouldn't be trying to take your guns. They wouldn't be locking us down. They wouldn't be doing what they're doing if they trusted us to do what we should do. Contact tracing means everywhere you go, everyone you come into contact with is now under scrutiny. And by contact tracing being a legal thing for the government to do, then they can legally, keep track of where you're going, who you're talking to. And guess what? If they're contact tracing me and they're watching the GPS on my phone, and I come over to your house, or I see you at 7-Eleven and we stand there and talk for 5 minutes, they're now contact tracing you, which means they're following you, watching you, where you carry your phone, where you go. And everybody you talk to, they're contact tracing them. This gives them the ability to monitor and surveil pretty much the entire population. Merry Christmas, Prepper Trucking. Thank you. So that's really bothersome right there, but that ties directly into what I wanted to lead into with that. And that's something that's going into effect within the next week or two. Now, I watch Angry Prepper. I like his videos, and I got a lot of this information that I'm about to talk about right now, from one of his videos. So I wanted to give that shout out there. But it's about what's called the new health pass. Now, for a while, we've heard talk about things like that. We talk about a chip, we talk about an implant, but for a long time, I felt like the government's going to have a hard time implementing, an RFID chip in everybody. But if you really think about it, we already carry one around, and it's in our cell phone. And they're going to implement what's called a health pass. And IBM is the manufacturer of this health pass, or a couple of other companies. And this is an app that's going to be on your phone. All right. And there's two levels. You got, I can't remember, I think it's called the gold level and the blue level, something like that. I'm going to talk more about this in a better researched video, but there's going to be two levels. And the two levels are going to be, the gold level is those who have had the vaccine. The blue level is those who have been tested every 5 days. So think about that for a second. What's the other level? It's probably going to be red, which means, you're allowed no access. Now, it's not just IBM that's putting these out. British Airways is going to implement this on a test run next week. So this is already in play. Okay. So if they've already been developing this, it's been in the works for a little while now. And I think a lot of us see that. But not just British Airways, but Virgin Airways, or airlines, whatever they call themselves, they're going to be doing it also starting within the next 1 to 2 weeks. So starting with those two, they're going to be like, well, we're going to do a trial run. Well, what's a trial run with an app? What, somebody holds it and you scan it. There's no trial run. That's just their way of saying we're starting it. And we're going to start it small because we got to sort of ease it on you. How do countries lose balance? How do countries fall? It doesn't happen all at once. It happens bit by bit by bit. One little thing is took away, followed by another little thing, followed by another. And then people get used to it. So when those other little things get took away, nobody even notices it. And next thing you know, you're living in somewhere like Nazi Germany. And which is funny, off the subject, Time Magazine Person of the Year was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Socialism. 1938, Time Magazine Person of the Year for socialism was Adolf Hitler. Parallel there. But all right, let's get back on subject. All right. Another company that's going to be implementing this health pass is Ticketmaster. And Ticketmaster controls the majority of the ticket sales for all of the sporting events, for all of your concerts, your venues such as that. So what we're starting to see is it's starting with things like airlines, starting with entertainment events, and they're going to be forcing people. If you don't have this app, sorry, you can't come in. You just can't come in. And this is where the real problem occurs, is because we talk about the government, and how the government forsakes us, and they do forsake us. They do leave us out there on our own, basically, to fend for ourselves on a lot of things, and they try to be more controlling. But the government is not the ones that's going to mandate this vaccine. I believe it's going to be big business. It's going to be companies saying, if you don't have the vaccine, you can't come back to work. The government's not going to say, we're making you get it, because legally we can't. But the company you work for might say, hey, we feel it's unsafe if you don't come back to work without the vaccine. And that's going to leave a lot of people out of work. It's going to be the big business that controls the vaccine. And this is really disturbing, because when we really think about it, who really runs the government? Do our politicians run the government? Yeah, they sign some documents. But who pays the politicians? Who pays them? It's big business. I mean, they don't make that much money. One of the senators from my state, a Republican, and I'm Republican, just everybody knows that. But I'll be the first to say, this guy had a law practice in my hometown, a one-room practice, and he became a senator, and now he's a multi-millionaire. You know, you don't become a multimillionaire just off of a government salary. There's other things coming in, and this is, you know, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And as long as our politicians are being bought and influenced by these large companies, then we're never going to have peace in this country. We're never going to have security, and our freedom is going to go. It's going to go quickly. This is going to be a deciding year for us, 2021. We're either going to lose our freedom and become slaves, or we're going to stand up and get our freedoms back. And, you know, it's just one of those things. It's really going to be a crazy year, y'all. All right. So let's see here. Bill Gates. All right. Okay. Yeah. I would like to talk about something too. I got another couple subjects here, but earlier in the week, you know, I'd put up a post and I asked if anybody had any questions, and there was a question. I'm going to look at the post because I want to make sure I get the person's name right. You know, it was about wild edibles, Webster, wild edibles. And what I'm going to do right here is I am going to paste a link that I found. As soon as I get back on where I'm at, I'm going to paste a link I found right here to some very good wild edibles that you can find during the wintertime. I've got a couple of videos on the channel, but that's a really good document on that site right there. I found it today. I was looking for it, trying to help you out. Also, another thing is my website, SeriousSurvivor.com. Got it back up and running again today. It should be up right now. It may end up being later on. Had some really major issues with it, but finally got those all straightened out and got it running. But the reason I wanted to talk about that's because there's also some other documents on there that are all free downloads. Everything on my site's free. It's all free downloads. Multiple books on edible plants for every part of the country, you know, every season. So check that out because it's all free. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the website when I get into some of the comments on that page a little later, because I had some ideas and I want to hear some other people's ideas about some things that could really benefit us all on this. All right, there's one more thing I want to talk about right here before I get into the questions, and that's the missile attacks that occurred earlier this week. For a long time, I mean, you think about it, the last little while, the terrorist attacks, the things like that have really, I hate to say slacked off, but we haven't had any terrorist attacks on our own soil. Since this president's been in office, how many military bases have been shot up? How many suspected terrorist attacks occurred on U.S. soil? It stopped. All right. Expect that to start again. These missile attacks that occurred earlier this week, there were 21 missiles that were launched at the U.S. Embassy. And of these 21 missiles, 3 of them hit the ground and did not detonate. And it's reported that these 3 missiles in the pictures I saw came from Iran due to the markings on them, due to the numbering, all that. I guess they're able to tell this, but these are definitely Iranian missiles, according to the reports. So President Trump issued a response to that, or put out a statement saying that because there's a lot more chatter that's being picked up about more attacks on U.S. personnel in the Middle East, according to these same reports. So he put out a statement saying that if there is another attack, and if one American life is lost during these attacks, that there would be a swift and intense retaliation, basically. That's not word for word, of course, you know, sort of paraphrasing. And since then, we've moved in one of our attack submarines into the area that was escorted by 2 destroyers, along with a team of Navy SEALs, given the capability of over 200 to 250 missiles that we could launch that were within striking range of Iran with this small little task force. And things are escalating sort of quickly over there. Iran is threatening us back, according to those same reports. So I guess that's one of the things we're just going to have to see what happens. This could escalate into something more. We've seen how bold the Iranian military has been over the last few years, where they've been trying to take tankers, and they've actually took tankers and all, you know, in that particular area. And there's been a lot of attacks like that. So this is something that's definitely worth keeping an eye on, and something that we just want to watch out for. All right. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to look at some of the comments or, the questions that were on the poll. And the first one I was going to talk about, which we just did a little bit, was the, wild edibles in winter. And that's a really good subject because we tend to talk about wild edibles a lot. And the thing is, we sort of think, I know at least me being from the South, I'm thinking it's green outside, everything's growing, and there's all these edibles I can eat. But what about in winter? What about up here in Michigan where there's snow on the ground? And that's a really good subject. And I think I'm going to do a video on that too very soon. But I hope that the document helps you out. And there's more on the website, a lot more on the website. Check those out. And that's a really good question. And I hope a lot of people think about that, because we are in winter right now. I mean, that's obvious, but survival's different in winter than it is in summer. Yeah, with me sitting here in my house, power on, water running, of course, nothing's really that much different. It's just colder when I go outside. But if something were to happen and I had to leave my house, if I weren't truly prepared, then, it's going to be much harder to survive. I know in South Carolina, especially in the summer, I could just walk out of the house in a pair of shorts and I could probably live for months in the woods. But up here, it's a whole different ballgame. Gear is a very important aspect of that. All right. Another one, Anik, good subjects to talk about, I think, would be the economy and prepping for 2021. And you're right. Those are probably the most predominant subjects on people's mind right now. I put up a poll about a week ago, something like that, maybe a week and a half ago, and asked what people thought would be, the most dramatic impact or what would be the worst thing to come, most likely scenario out of 2021. And 54% of the people were stating economic collapse. I have to say that I believe that that's the direction we're heading into. And an economic collapse is one of those things that's hard to prep for, but we have the advantage in knowing how we need to prep. I mean, if I'm worried about losing my job, then the first thing I need to do is stop going out and to eat, is, stop buying things I don't need and start putting that money towards my rent or start putting that money towards my power bill, my light bill, to try and pay that stuff ahead and things like that. But an economic collapse, I do believe, is a very good possibility, especially now. I mean, you think about what the media is doing right now. I was watching the news a little while earlier, and one of the big stories on the news is the first flight that's landing from the UK, since this, new mutation of the virus, and how they're going to put these people on lockdown. And if they try to leave, they're going to be facing all these stiff penalties. Once again, they're priming us for what's coming. They're telling us what's coming. If they're going to lock down people from another country, face them with $1,000 fines per day if they try to violate that lockdown, what do you think they're going to start doing to us when they say this mutated strain has now spread throughout the U.S.? Because, I hate to say it, and like I say, I'm not trying to fearmonger, but it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't be hearing about it the way we're hearing about it. And with this new mutated strain, they say that this vaccine is 99% effective against the mutated strain. How do you know that? How do we even know the vaccine is effective? We haven't seen it worldwide in use yet. And I don't even want to get into that. But this is something that's going to come, and we can expect more lockdowns. I mean, up here, they're already locked us down into January. And they're talking, and they manufacture the vaccine 50 miles up the road from me. So, they're already locking us down worse. And there's a lot of other states I've heard that their lockdown orders are in place until like April and May. And it just doesn't make sense. We've got one part of the government saying we're cured, we got a vaccine, everybody's going to be all right. And then the next day they're telling us, no, we're going to lock everybody down harder. We're going to close down restaurants. We're going to close down all the middle class businesses, but we're going to let Walmart stay up. We're going to let Walmart, where 10,000 people a day walk in there and touch everything in the store and standing all side by side. I mean, come on, it just doesn't make any sense. And we can see it coming. And as preppers, this is, I hate to say this is what we prep for, but this is the kind of situations that, we've kept our eyes on. And we see this coming right now. It's going to be, this year is going to be economically tough on probably more people in the United States than have ever had to experience this before in their lives. This is something that's not going to go away overnight. No stimulus package is going to take care of. No vaccine is going to stop, because no matter what happens, I guarantee you these lockdowns will be in place throughout the end of 2021, and they're going to get more severe with each month that goes by. So this is going to be a difficult upcoming year. And, you know, I just hope that things we can manage to work together on things and work some and just figure some things out. All right. Now, as I'm going to look at this, all right, there's one more question I want to touch on real quick, and then I want to talk about something a little different. I had a question that said how to navigate and survive in a country where you don't speak the language. And I'll have to say, that's the first time somebody's asked me that question. And that is a question that I don't really travel abroad these days. Back in my military days, yeah, but now not so much anymore. And that's a question that I guess you could break it down one of two ways. If you're in another country unexpectedly, if you're just thrust there for whatever reason, then you have to just do the best you can at that point. But most of the time, that's probably not going to happen. If I migrate to a country, if I'm on vacation, or if I'm in a foreign country due to my job, then I have an opportunity before I go there that I should be able to, plan ahead. If I'm just going to say Mexico, because it's reasonable that I would go to Mexico because it's just south of United States here. I'm going to look at where I'm going. I'm going to look at maps of the area, and I'm going to at least try to familiarize myself a little bit more with the language. But if nothing else, with today's technology, one of the advantages we do have are translation apps on your phone. And with that translation app, that takes the language barrier pretty much away. And they're very helpful. I've seen some, I haven't really used them, but I've seen a lot of demonstrations, and they work pretty good. And that would be something helpful you might want to think about if you are in a foreign country. If you're in that country long term, then definitely familiarize yourself with the basics of the language to where you can at least have the basic means of communication. But that's an extremely good question. And that's one that, as what I said right now, I'll try to get a little deeper into that maybe later. But right now, that's about, what I can think of on that. But one of the things, and this is the question that I also want to pose to everybody out there. And I'm looking at the comments right here on the screen, and I'm gonna sort of put together several comments. I mean, you can go back and read them if you want to read all of them, but I'm sort of going to talk about several at one right here. And I want to say, to start off with, I 100% agree. And these comments pretty much are saying, or questions, comments, whatever, they're pretty much saying that the time for talk is over. What can we do? I mean, we can sit here, I can make 100 videos a day running my mouth, but unless I'm willing to actually do something, then nothing's ever going to happen. Talk, like they say, talk is cheap. Actions can change the world. And that's where we really need to do a lot of thinking about what can we do to impact or to affect this change that we want to see. Me just talking about it isn't going to work, but also me acting alone isn't going to work. You acting alone isn't going to work. It's going to take all of us standing together. Part of those comments, one gentleman asked, he said, why are so many conservative groups seem to be at odds with each other, talking, I think, a lot about the militias and all. And I can see that. I see that's true. You got a lot of militias, and they sort of like to stick to themselves. They're in their own little groups here or there. And that's a very valid point. If we're all fighting for the same thing, then why aren't we standing together instead of apart? Because if you got 5 little groups trying to do something, that's not going to have the same impact as if those groups were to join together and work together to accomplish some type of change in this nation. And 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, change was done at the voting booth. Not anymore. Now we have to think about different things we can truly do to affect the change, that we want to see. And it starts at the smallest level. And that's like the comment I see here, Ninja Squirrel. You're right. City council meetings. How many times do we see the little sign out in front of our city council that yeah, you're right. You're right. You're on the radar once you start a group like that. Gen Z, you're right. But the city council means change starts, like they always say, change starts within. And that's true. If I want to change the world, then, I have to start with small baby steps, basically. I can't tell the president of the United States what change we need to see, and he's going to do it. But I can stand up in a city council meeting and have my voice heard. Now, will this impact us this year? No, probably not. Let's be realistic. I mean, city council meetings, I do attend those, not up here in Michigan because I'm not a resident here, but in South Carolina, I've attended my share of them. And I think it's important, if you want to voice your opinion, then that's where you have to start voicing your opinion at. But these days, I'm not sure if that's going to happen fast enough because we're seeing this nation change directions rapidly. This isn't like, 10 years from now, it might be worse. No, this is like 10 months from now, we might be in a completely different nation. And this is going to require people to truly stand up. And this goes to what I wanted to talk about my website. One person asked in the comments, how can we get in touch with you? How can we start talking about working together as groups? And I want to offer up my website to do that. It's a free site. And I want your ideas on how we could create a forum on there to where we could communicate with one another. It's a secure site now. Just paid $1,200 for software security on it. So it's, it's secure. As secure as it can be. Nothing online is ever totally secure, but it's somewhere for us to start. YouTube's not going to let us start something we need to start. We're going to have to start this on our own. And for those that, want to be a part of the change that needs to come, then I'm offering that up. I'm going to put a comment after I get done with this on the channel in the community tab, and give me some ideas how we can set this up so that we can communicate. And anybody out there that's, really good at websites, I'm happy to hear what you got to say and maybe work with you getting something built there that we can put these groups together. We can take these, you got 20 groups here, 20 groups here. They're all operating independently. Why can't we have one centralized structure? And we can show this nation, this world, that we are not going to be taken lightly. Not anymore. Our voices have been silent for too long. And now it's pretty much time we stand up for ourselves, for our nation, for our children and their children. What kind of world will your children live in 10 years from now if we don't do something this year? What kind of world? Is it the kind you even want to imagine? Not for me. I just, I want my children to have the same opportunities I had growing up. Those opportunities aren't there anymore. Those opportunities are going away. And we're seeing a nation being restructured. We're seeing a nation being redefined. We're seeing a nation be destroyed. And if we don't stand up as Americans and stand together, then we're going to fall divided. I mean, that's all we can say about that. So, got a little deep there, but I hope we're all on the same wavelength. I hope that we can, get some things going and get to working together. And, I guess that's about it for tonight. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to look at the comments right here and see any specific questions about something that we talked about more. Yeah, I'm more boots on the ground too, prepper trucking. Always survive. So you're in Michigan too? Michigan. All right. Well, I do want to say I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, and I want to say thanks a lot for everybody listening to me tonight. But I want to leave off with a joke, okay? Trying to lighten things up a little bit. If y'all want to hear this, what's the difference between a northern fairy tale and a southern fairy tale? Well, a northern fairy tale always starts off with once upon a time. A southern fairy tale starts off with, y'all ain't gonna believe this shit. I hope you find that a little humorous. But I want to say thanks a lot for watching tonight. I really appreciate it. And, stay safe out there. God bless everybody. I'm going to look through some of the comments right here, but I'm going to end the stream, but look through some of the comments. See, I thought that was funny. Good. All right. But I do wish everybody the best. And I hope y'all have a great Christmas and a great weekend. And like I said, I'm going to put a post up here as soon as I get off the live stream. And I want y'all to give me some ideas what we can do. I got a website and it's big. I have a lot on there. But what I mean is, what can we do to set this up a little better so that we can communicate on there a little more efficiently, and just ideas is what I'm looking for there, because I'm willing to do it any way that's going to work so that we can get together, we can stand together, share ideas, and work together. So God bless everybody. Thanks a lot for watching. And for now, Seer Survivor.